Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I thought it might be fun to talk about an old rework concept for the Division 2, a proposed change for the game that I was super excited for. It got delayed, then unfortunately cancelled. However, what we've learned is that a different, potentially evolved version of what was originally pitched is likely coming to the game in an update on the horizon. So today, let's talk about the past, present, and future of the Specialization Rework. If you want further news updates, breakdowns, and more on the Division 2 like this, then consider clicking that subscribe button would be greatly appreciated. But let's get into this. The spec revamp was originally the very first concept and change that we were told about when the Division 2 was in its content drought. Basically the period between season 4 and 9 where the development team was rebuilt, new ideas were pitched and created, all of that. We knew the first return update would include a new season and game mode, but beyond that, no details were shared until this first Intelligence Annex article dropped. Now, I have linked this in the description below so that if you want to check it out for yourself, you can. Just keep in mind that it is mostly outdated information, which we will get to shortly. But let's go through some of the big points they hit on here. Firstly, the article outlines how the devs believe that specializations aren't reaching their full potential as far as build customization and player playstyle enhancement. And so because of this revamp would be splitting up the current specialization system into two channels. The first was a linear progression path for each of the 6 specializations. This would have functioned similarly to any other leveling system, really, where the more you use a specific specialization, the more XP you get towards progressing this path. And in this unlock path would be bonuses like increased specialization weapon damage, it would have the unlocks for your spec sidearm, the exclusive skill, things like that. Basically, all of those static bonuses and unlocks would remain here. And once you completed the unlock path for a specific specialization, you would have all of the things. Now, the really other neat thing they were doing was making these unlocks universal. So whereas now specialization exclusive items, skills, etc. are only available when that specific spec is equipped, to put it how they did in the article, this revamp would have allowed you to use the Artificer Hive with a mortar turret and the Survivalist D50. That would open up a lot of opportunities. But that's only half of it, because the rest of the specialization power and perks would be channeled into an all-new specialization tree, one for each spec. And this was an expanded perk tree combining old perks, reworked perks, and new ones, in a tree where you would not be given enough points to unlock everything, meaning the bonuses would be more powerful and impactful, and you'd have to choose which ones you wanted most in order to unlock them. Even cooler, the trees would primarily focus on 3 elements: your specialization weapons, armor kits, and grenades. The devs were going to be adding in all new instant use alternate functions for armor kits and grenades, and these abilities could be unlocked and powered up to a level of your choosing via that spec tree. Now, unfortunately, we never got more clarification or details on this. Would it have been like instant healing or some stat bonuses upon armor kit or grenade application? Really hard to say. Circling back to specialization weapons, however, we did get some detail there as they outlined how they would be implementing a new vulnerability system. This would allow players in some form to be able to weaken named enemies and bypass the base damage reduction that specialization weapons do to them in order to maximize their damage and potential. And in addition to that, they would be reintroducing specialization ammo and weapons to the Dark Zone in order to encourage this new system's usage across the entire game. And players would function under the same base damage debuff as named enemies, although they too could be weakened under this new system. So there you go, that is what was outlined for the specialization rework, and before we go any farther, I am obligated to say how heartbroken I still am that we have not and will not get this revamp, at least in the form described here. Because stuff like a specialization tree with dedicated choices, alternate armor kit functionalities, that stuff sounds absolutely heavenly and would have added an all new element to the Division 2's endgame. But alas, we move on. So, after that article, which came out back in October of 2021, we were later told that the specialization revamp would not be coming in TU15 and Season 9 like originally planned, and was postponed to a later unspecified date. What some may not recall, however, is the fact that we actually got a bit of a peek at what seemed to be planned for the new spec weapon vulnerability system in the TU15 PTS. And that was thanks to the Jeopardy talent. Now, Flatline was the new talent added in TU15, it was in the patch notes, all of that, but Jeopardy was never mentioned either in the patch notes or by developer comment, and to my recollection was removed for subsequent PTS phases, never to be seen or heard from again to this day, which leads me to believe that it was tied to this vulnerability system the article stated that they would be adding. This was the talent. It read headshots and weak point hits build and refresh stacks which grant 20% vulnerability applied by weapons. One stack is removed every 3 seconds, max stack is 50. And again, especially given the usage of the same word in the article of vulnerable, I think there's a very good chance that this talent would have been linked into that whole system, and that's why we've yet to see it return and probably never will. After TU15, we held out hope that the revamp might be ready for TU16, then 17, and our hope continued to fade until earlier this year when a developer comment stated that the team wasn't too happy with the design and decided to look at other ways to accomplish what they set out to do, more or less confirming that the spec revamp, at least in the original form pitched back in 2021, was cancelled. But wait, there's hope yet. We finally got official word on the whole matter back during the Year 5 Season 1 reveal stream, and let me play this clip of what Morton said on the matter as I don't want to mince any words.
Okay, let's rip off the band-aid. Spec revamp.
Yeah, the spec revamp. So I think it has been kind of revealed in the past, and we have talked about it. But I think it's important that we address it here live with you guys, and it's something that we had to set aside because what we wanted to do with the changes to endgame and how you play the game and engage with the game from season 4 of year 5, it really didn't fit in, and it we didn't really feel that it had the oomph that it was supposed to bring. So that was set aside, and a complete new set was designed to make changes throughout, both with season 4, but also throughout time. If there's gonna be so many changes, but yes, unfortunately, that means that the article that was posted in, I think it was November 2021 or something, is inaccurate because it's not gonna hit servers. At least we don't intend to let that be part of what we're designing at the moment. We think it's much more exciting what we're doing, and we hope you think so too. Once we are ready to reveal that, that'll be later in year 5. So stay tuned for that.
So it's very, very interesting. He basically says that the original spec rework they had in mind prior to planning out the endgame redesign conflicted with these new plans that they had developed, and because of that, that specific iteration will no longer be pursued. But he also then says that because it was set aside, a quote, new set was designed. So it's hard to determine from his wording if he means that a new secondary specialization revamp will be coming, if the greater season 4 changes will impact and improve specializations in some way, right? It's impossible to know for certain, at least for now, until they start revealing some of that stuff later on. Another part of his comment I find interesting is how he said that this old iteration didn't have the amount of oomph that it was originally intended to, and I'm curious why that was. Because I feel like most people would agree that having a universal unlock system and cross-spec exclusive usage would have been really awesome to have. And like I said before, a choice-based perk tree would have been so amazing, but I will take Morton's word for it and give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm very interested to see how, if at all, specializations will improve or evolve with this huge update coming at the end of year 5. It sounds like so much is changing, probably more stuff than we've already been led to believe, and it would not shock me if in some ways parts of this rework find their ways into other new ideas. One thing that I thought of, we know that Season 4 in the DLC is introducing an all-new item type for us to incorporate into our builds. What if it's an armor plate slot? And you can loot different ones that have varying healing amounts, application speeds, some could even come with talents or stat boosts once you use one. I think that would be an insanely awesome addition, and it would revive that part of the rework that they outlined how something like that was going to be tied to each specialization tree. There's a million different ways it could play out. Regardless, I'm very interested to see what we learn as Season 4 slowly but imminently approaches. But, my friends, that was a look back and a peek ahead at the canceled Specialization Rework, and how it might live on through an evolved version in the coming updates. I very much hope you enjoyed. I know this is a topic that I care about a lot, and I know one that many of you followed along with for a very long time, so I figured it would be fun to go over, given we got some finality with the whole thing at the start of this season. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the whole matter. Were you looking forward to the originally pitched spec revamp? How do you feel about how it all turned out? And how do you interpret Morton's comments about its potential revival in Season 4? Do you think we're really going to see it? Whatever you're thinking, leave it down below, and as always, I will be very curious to read through them. And that's going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold.